Ladies and gentlemen, Dune Awakening's mid to end game, well, they're showing a stream now on what it looks like. And we're going to go check out what the devs have cooked for us for the mid to end game. It's one of my main questions. Let's see if we can see what they've cooked and how much they've improved this mid to end game. Right now, let's check it out. Turning it up. Making sure we're good on volume.
You don't have to walk this path alone.
Got a little B-roll.
There is.
I'm excited for Dune Awakening.
The foundation of something greater. A power waiting to be harnessed. Desert power. Some claim to rule this planet. But Arrakis is yours to explore.
I can't wait to go into some of these environments that are more like vertical, you know, that are more like, you know, this one where they're like crawling through stuff and like one of these, I think. Yeah, I can't wait to go through some of these. I just can't wait. And I played the beta. Beta was fun. Enjoyed it. There was definitely some jank, but the game was enjoyable. And we didn't have any access to these kind of zones. This looks sick. I mean, look at this. Like, you can't even see the floor. This looks awesome.
Arrakis is yours to explore. To fight for.
Yep, we've seen the combat.
To conquer.
We've talked about the melee combat, chat. It does need improving. The melee combat needs improving. We've talked about this a lot. It's like Rust building, yes. It's very similar to Valheim, Rust, that kind of stuff. So.
But there are forces beyond even your control.
This damn worm, dude. June 10th. Next week, y'all. We're gonna play this next week.
Master Arrakis.
Yeah, Warling.
And it will open your mind. This is your path to awakening.
Good stuff. Yep. We're gonna do it. So next week, so I can confirm with you, regardless what happens on the stream, next week we are gonna play it at early access. I'm going live on the 5th. When this is up, if you want to play with us, you can. Come on down that day. We're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. We're just very excited for it. So let's see what we got. I'm gonna change my kick category while we're here because we multi-stream, baby. What's up, girl?
Hello, everybody, to our, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this, last developer live stream before our head start.
Natasha has been a gem to the community. She is killing it. Her tweets are like actually funny. You know, it's weird to me to see, and the Eve developers are like this too, where there's just a couple people that they're just quality faces of the company. I have nothing but good things to say about Natasha and the team at large. She's killing it. And I think she got that tattoo because it's a Dune Awakening tattoo, which is sick.
And
Respect
the full
it.
launch
Respect
of
it.
Dune Awakening. I'm Natasha Rösli. I have the honor to be your host for today. And I think I'm not the only one when I say I'm so excited for you to experience what our teams have been working on for the past years. So some of you have gotten a taste of what the game feels and looks like during the beta weekend. But today we go beyond the beta and show you a glimpse of mid and end game of Dune Awakening. We have...
And I'm actually watching this live stream a little bit after. You can see we're like halfway through. This is a live stream. I did this on purpose because I kind of want to fast forward past the like informational whatever and just get right down to brass tacks. So I love the information, but let's listen to a little bit more, but then we're probably going to fast forward and get to the actual like show me the gameplay because I don't want this to be a 2-hour video, right? So
first, a little segment where we talk beta and combat. We then have live gameplay of Haga Basin and also social hubs. We go into live gameplay of the Deep Desert. And as always, we have a Q&A in the end where we'll be connecting questions from you, from chat,
Deep Desert,
live during the stream. But before we dive into all of that, let's watch a brand new video.
Okay. The deep desert, by the way, is like the dark zone in Dune Awakening. That's how they described it. That's what makes me most excited about this game. Let's see it.
Combat in Dune Awakening is the fusion of melee, shields, ranged, abilities, and vehicles.
What's that?
As you progress,
Go back.
abilities
Go back.
and vehicles.
When did we get daggum rocket buggies? Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. When did we get rocket RPG buggies? We're going to transport our guild around with a literal caravan? We're going to have a good time.
As you progress, your tactical options expand,
Yes.
allowing you to express yourself through different styles.
I want an RPG.
In the
Looking at the UI.
beginning, combat is a short, brutal affair.
I like how they're showing this.
Do everything you can to knock your opponents off balance and open them up for a retaliating strike.
Good dodge.
Keep an eye on your stamina,
Yep.
or find yourself in trouble.
Good. Good.
Early abilities change the paradigm. Use the voice to force your enemies to come to you.
So this is good that they're showing this. That was a Bene Gesserit ability. I still think that melee should cost stamina. That the stamina bar is bound to your dash. And when we saw the creator do there was a bunch of creators that did like a beta preview PvP, and you saw Tyler 1 just like mouse wanting people and just like perma-locking Shroud and perma-locking Summit. And it was just kind of sad to see because the game actually has a lot of depth to it and it feels deep. Every single piece of tech you get is like another thing you have to like, oh, I have another tool. It feels like you're Batman and you got another toolbox in your utility belt to do, right? So literally someone said like London POV. I was like, oh God, like, so is that, sheesh. This is hopefully going to be a system that is improved is the melee combat. It's very basic and it's the number one thing I think that the devs have to improve on for this game to have longevity. The rest of the game, honestly, super fun. Let's keep watching.
Shigawire claw to stagger an enemy.
Shigawire! Oh, go back. Go back. Did he just use the Shigawire offensively?
Shigawire claw to stagger an enemy.
Shigawire was my favorite thing. You can use it offensively? You can use it to stun somebody? It's a ranged stop. You can use it to get away and stun something? I didn't know this. I have to go back and look at all of the abilities now and see like what I missed. Oh my God, dude. We're going to have a good time.
Knee charge into melee range.
Little Titan punch or knee.
Ranged weapons like the Mauler pistol allow you to maintain distance and take down enemies from afar.
You gonna die, bro? There you go.
Until a shielded enemy enters the fray.
Yes, sir.
Holtzman's
Good
shields
overview.
change the nature of combat. Their kinetic barrier can only be pierced by slow-moving objects. Fast on defense, slow on attack.
By the way, I loved the sword. Jeez Louise, I just went back all the way for something. I loved the sword so much. I can't believe I went back to like the very beginning of the daggone video. I loved the sword so much, y'all. It was one of my favorite things to use because it let me AoE the people down. The dagger was very fast and you really feel the difference between the two weapons because the dagger was excellent at that single target, getting real close, getting real up close and personal. But the moment there was like two enemies, man, I just wanted the sword so much. I wanted to be able to just knock multiple enemies back. And one of my favorite things was getting people into a like corner and then like corralling them into a corner, dodging around them, and then just starting going to town with the sword just slashing like crazy. A lot of fun.
By slow-moving
A lot of fun.
objects. Fast on defense, slow on attack. Swords, daggers, kinjals, and rapiers are effective for dealing with shielded enemies, But without a shield of your own, you will quickly be overwhelmed by enemy fire.
Yep.
But the
Sorry, my wife,
shields
Jen.
also have a weakness beyond the slow blade. Ranged attacks cannot be fired from inside an active shield.
This was something I noticed when I was playing the beta, and it really, the moment you figured that out, it opened up what the shield was for. Because you activate a shield, you're like, I have a shield. The moment you start shooting, the shield goes away. So now when you have the shield on, you can plan when to move. So you like firing, your cover becomes anywhere you're standing if you're not shooting. Does that make sense? Then you can stop shooting, duck behind cover, wait for the shield to come back, and use it to go to the next spot. So it changes how you actually think of cover. That if you, in other games, you are out and you're vulnerable to stuff the moment you leave cover, but you actually use cover as a way to like wait for your shield and then you're safe. You're safe at like the opposite point. You know, you're not safe when you're behind cover shooting some because they can hit you on your torso and your head, right? You're safe when you're running from A to B. It's a slight difference in combat that really excellent stuff. I love it. I love it.
Creating a window of opportunity for the others to exploit.
It is. You have to pay attention to this.
Specialized range weapons can counteract shields. The drill shot rifle fires drilling darts that will attach to a shield and slowly pass through.
I didn't know about this. Sick.
Attach to a shield and slowly pass through.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know about that.
The disruptor fires statically charged darts at variable speeds to overwhelm the power supply of the shield.
See, it like stuns you.
Ability.
The disruptor was something I misused in the beta because I treated it like it was an SMG. I didn't understand that this was going to be anti-shield content. Guys, if you want EVE content, we did hours of it before. We're going to do some EVE content after this as well. If you want to follow us, you can see some EVE content. Don't you worry. We're going to come back to it, okay? Don't you worry about it, all right? If you stick around, you'll get EVE guides and EVE giveaways, okay? But only if you stick around, okay? So this was something I misused in the beta because I thought it was like a big DPS SMG. It was really for getting rid of shields. They give you counters. They give you options. I like this.
Overwhelm
I like it
the
a lot.
power supply of the shield.
See?
Abilities can turn the tide of any battle.
Flamethrower, bro.
Swordmasters use their deflection ability to close the distance. Swordmasters use their deflection ability to
I didn't know that was a thing. You know how often I fought these guys and I was pinned down? I could just spec into Swordmaster and then I start deflecting bullets. Goodness gracious.
close the distance and bring their crippling strikes to bear on their enemies.
Sick.
Troopers use their techniques to take to the air and bring death from above.
It was so much fun. Look at this crap, dude.
And bring their
Look at
crippling
this crap.
strikes to bear on their enemies. Troopers use their techniques to take to the air and bring death.
I did this so much, dude. Where this exact dungeon, I actually remember this one of the Imperial tests. They fly now. This is actually what I was doing. I would like just start slowly going up and it's like, you think you're in a safe spot? I make my own safe spots. You know, you're in cover. Not if I have anything to say about it. Look at, and this is just one way you can use these combinations of the abilities and tools. There's other ways you can use these offensively as well, where you saw that somebody like threw that green ball's an anti-gravity grenade. You throw that and everything in there starts floating. Grenades, people, barrels, you know, like everything starts floating around. You can use it to get people out of cover, or you can use the anti-gravity abilities to get yourself above their cover. There's differences of strategy here.
From
Cool.
above.
Very cool.
Bene Gesserit stop enemies in their tracks with the power of the voice.
Yep.
Or use their Bindu dash to quickly close the gap. Mentats control the battlefield with their sentinel.
Me.
Or use the Hunter Seeker for a silent takedown.
I never got to use that. Sick.
Abilities, ranged weapons, shields and melee work in concert to allow mastery.
Now imagine all this in PvP. Okay? Imagine you got somebody who's like, I'm the sniper boy with a Mentat specialist, and we finally found their like FC, the guy calling the shots. Hey Mentat, can you Hunter Seeker their FC, please? You know? Troopers, we need you to push in and go from above because they're stuck behind some rocks. We have to get you to float over stuff. Swordmasters, they've got some tanks in the front. We need you to get in there and disrupt their front line. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is true, 100% Yggdrasil. That was one of the main things that I said. There has to be some kind of like friend and foe, duh. So just really sick. Yes, Lord, I agree in a good way.
But beyond mastery lies the spice. Consume it to awaken. Transcend human limits with new abilities and prescience. Seeing what others cannot. The narrow path to victory.
What this is the pre-science ability, and you can kind of see, let me get to a better spot here. So you can see the pre-science ability is if you consume a bunch of spice, there's this purple bar down here. It's kind of hard to see. You use this and it gives you insight into the battlefield. So you can see what their abilities are. Their ability cooldown, SWOTOR, but better. Yeah, this is limited time pre-science ability where you consume a lot of spice. You can see their abilities, what the ability cooldowns are. There's other stuff you can see to be able to get stuff. I loved SWTOR. Honestly, one of my favorite games back in the day. So much fun. This kind of feels like that too. You just helped me understand why I love this game, by the way. Thank you. But the thing about the spice, it activates when you eat melange food. But if you keep using it, you get resistance to the melange. It makes it more expensive. You have to eat 2 potions. You have to drink 2 melange beers, whatever. 2 melange coffees, whatever, instead of 1. You do it again. Now you need 3. Now you need 5. Now you need 10. So if you keep using it, it gets more expensive. That's pretty sick. Making everybody's ultimate ability, you really have to decide when you want to use it because the next time you use it, it's going to be further away and further away and further away. Hey, anybody got more of that melange? Unironically, how it's going to be.
Path to victory.
That was sick. That was cool.
Combine these techniques freely to experience sandbox combat.
Okay, look at what this guy just did. Look what this guy just did.
Combine these techniques freely to...
He's using Bindu Sprint, Bena Gesserit. He's using the Shigawire to get up. And he's got some other ability that I don't know what it is. And he's got his power pack to be able to float in. You combine the mix of tech and abilities. And yes, you can multi-class to your heart's content in Dune Awakening to get something that looks like this.
To experience sandbox combat, create unique strategies, and bring them to bear against your foes. Always remember, Arrakis takes the weak.
Game looks sick. That was a really good showcase. They cooked with this. I am still needing better melee combat. Here's what I would do to melee. I would add a dash attack. I would add an after, I think there is a dash attack. So wait, I would add an after dodge attack because there's a sprint hit. So after sprint, but if you dodge, there's no like after attack. So there needs to be like a repositioned attack. That would be nice. I would also like a plunge attack. Give me an after, like I've dodged, hit, and I can drop down and stab. That's what I want. Aside from melee, straight up, great looking combat. Self-propelled warlock grenade from Destiny. Let's go, dude. There is a riposte. You can counter them and then you can riposte them. There is if you press Alt, you use your stamina bar to kind of like go to the side. I want an attack after that. Does that make sense? Right now, if you just go to the side, it's still just a light attack. There's nothing special about it, right? So I'd also like a from crouch attack. I'd like there to be some kind of like sneak attack, but there isn't right now. We'll see. So really, really cool. Once again, we're playing on the 5th. Any more other stuff going here? All right, they're going to talk about stuff. I don't necessarily want to watch this whole thing. I want to go to the like deep desert. Let's skip them talking about stuff because they're just going to, let's go right to this.
In so many people's hands so they can understand what we made. When we started working on Dune, we wanted to make more than just a normal survival game. We wanted to make a very...
This is them talking about the beta. That's fine. We actually played the beta extensively. We're going to go to, what's this? Yeah, let's see what we can expect at launch. This is what we want. Okay. At launch, what are we going to be getting?
To get the game out next week.
We've talked a lot about the beta already. So.
Yep.
Anything
100%.
you wanted to add?
No, I mean, for me, it's just a lot of fun to watch people finally playing. Like, someone asked me on Discord like a year ago, like, tell us about the game. They wanted me to describe the game. They weren't in the beta. And I was like, well, it's very hard to describe because it's something unique. Yes, it has some familiar survival stuff, but we've layered it all underneath the Dune IP. And it's really hard to describe how all of those things come together to create something that I feel is kind of unique and interesting, right?
My summer is ruined, says King Arthur. I agree. This is now what you're going to hear is some marketing speak, okay, from these people, because they're the developers. They want the game to be received well. Okay, and let me go here so you can read the text better. You're going to hear some marketing speak, but I also want you to hear me say, I'm not paid by them. I'm not, I'm a Funcom creator, but I'm not like sponsored or anything. It's not like what's happening. I'm showing you this because when he says it's hard to explain how the game just kind of comes together, it does. Other survival games, I'm like, I don't really know why I care about the world. This feels like a Dune game first. As a fan of the books, as a fan of the movies, this game felt good to play because I would kill some bandits and I'm like, man, I'm scavenging stuff as I'm hunting the Fremen. There's the worm. I'm getting the sandbag. One time in the beta, story time. One time in the beta, I'm in my house building and I keep hearing the worm. I keep hearing the worm pop up. It's here, it's there, whatever. And I keep the worm is constant. I look out my window and there's a guy who keeps trying to cross the desert and the worm is just bullying him. He refuses to go around to go to another area. I see a bike crossing, worm eats him. I see a bike crossing, worm still there, eats him. And I'm like, my guy. And it kind of dawned on me, like, I've never had a game that felt like I'm in the book I read before. Does that make sense? We were talking about SWTOR. It felt like I was playing a Star Wars game, but I didn't read those books. I watched the movies. This feels like you're in a Dune game first, and there's survival elements. Deep Desert is at launch. This is similar to the Dark Zone in Dune Awakening, where it resets every week. The land's rad. This is Atreides or Harkonnen to get control of the council. This is like a faction warfare thing where you have to declare a side. Pretty sick. House Atreides and House Harkonnen. Faction-specific rewards and building sets, weapons, and armor. I think we're going to pick Atreides, chat. I don't want to pick Harkonnens. Social features. Exchange is players can trade players across all servers. There's an auction house. There's an auction house. You can farm up epics in the game and then sell them to people on an auction house. You can get a daggum laser beam, baby.
But seeing people in the world having it, streaming it, putting up YouTube videos, talking about what they were experiencing, I think, importantly, people finding out whether they like or dislike the game as well, because I really like people to be able to make an informed choice about what they're buying as well. So, yeah.
100%.
Leave it to players to be excited about the market. This was my number one question, actually. So, no, look, we're not going to do real money auction house. This is, you can get Solaris in the game. Okay, I don't think you can spend dollars on this, right? So, Harkonnen's just misunderstood, bro. Yeah, sure, they're eating people and... they're just misunderstood. Cannibals, masochists, nihilists. They're misunderstood.
I think one thing I can add to this as well is, like, for me, having a little bit more of a bird's eye view of how the developers and the teams were reacting to this, because me too, we have been so close to the game for such a long time, you can't really judge it anymore, from a normal game.
Maybe that's what happens, Jaywalks, but we'll see. It's a launch of a game. We'll see. Definitely, same Gothillion for sure.
From your perspective,
yes.
And then seeing all those amazing kind of obviously there was feedback as well that we kind of needed to address and things. More on that in a second. Yeah. But it was just so fun to see how everyone kind of was like, no, we have something here. Like, people are enjoying it and they're getting it and they're like having fun playing the game. And that was really great to see from that perspective as well.
It was definitely having fun.
In the moments like people almost getting eaten by the sandworm. Right?
All right, they're still talking about the beta, so we're going to fast forward a bit. Buggies and Ornithopters at launch is really cool. That was one of the thoughts that we just saw. We just saw a buggy. Full story at launch. The Overland map where players can travel across various locations across Rakans. Sure. By the way, this map that they've shown, I hope they talk about it more because they're going to add more areas to this for sure. Like, I don't even think we go into the south yet. We do Sheol, which is cool, the shield wall. Udham, sure, fine. 9 areas at launch. Think of this like your big map. Let's keep fast forwarding here. And this is more talking about the beta weekend. This is kind of what I was thinking, is that they were going to end up talking a lot about the beta weekend. So, and then they talk a lot about stuff. I want to see the Endgame. So I know I'm going to link this video in the description for you. I want to see whatever this is. Here we go.
The word is just not as much.
I thought you were going to, when you said draw examples, I thought you were going to break out the wine. But let's.
Maybe I should. Maybe I would go better with alcohol. But yes, so we have some group gameplay, mid-game actually.
Yeah, mid-ish game.
We can probably just comment on it as
Sure.
well, what we're seeing and how it's different from what people have seen in the beta specifically.
Sure, you want.
Sure, yeah, I can go. So If you played to the Vermilius Gap, you know the journey is still very isolated to yourself, right, and your sand bike, and you have a small base. As you're moving into the next areas, like the Haga, or this is the Rift, right?
We got to mine together, baby. Any rock enjoyers, rock and stone, asteroid enjoyers in other games? Well, do I? You're not going to believe this. You know, like, so where's my venture? You're looking at it, dude, mining buggy in a group. You can see here they have 3 people in their group, and they're in a mining attachment on the buggy. It looks like a mining laser. There's a mining crystal, okay, so similar to the cut array, and you can get these items probably only from the buggy. Sick.
You unlock the buggy, and the great thing about the buggy is it allows you to start mining from your vehicle, and the resource requirement as you go further and further into the game is more intense. But the buggy and other systems like that allow you to...
Do you understand that you have to like have the buggy and you're going to have to roll around with a posse? Notice, I don't think you can drive this and have the mining rig. You're going to need friends. Somebody might have to drive this and you're going to have to be in the mining laser. And at the very least, you get your other sand bike here to protect you. You're going to have a posse rolling around this cavernous freaking area. Y'all, we're going to have a good time, aren't we? Okay. And by the way, we're streaming Dune Awakening at launch. We've got 3 days of like 12-hour streams ready to go. Okay. That's this. We've got launch. You like the art I did, chat? I'm pretty freaking proud of this. You can click notify me to see when we go live. We're going to be giving away 2 full copies of the game at launch. Okay. So come on down. We want you to join. We're going to have a great time. We've got 3 full days of Dune Awakening. We're going to have a great time, y'all. Okay.
Increase your harvest rate.
Glad you do, Death.
Yep.
And this is a fantastic part, right? Just moving around, going to the different resources, either switching yourself to the turret, or if you have a friend, having the friend man.
Confirmed. You can be driving, switch yourself to the turret, get back in the driver's seat. Confirmed.
The mining laser, right? And then being able to harvest resources.
Yeah, the buggy's a multi-seat vehicle, right? So when you get to the mid-game, it's good to start crafting that, right? And then you can get out there and you can harvest. It has a huge inventory space as well, compared to like the sand bike or what the players can carry. Our philosophy of design with the game, like I've seen people asking for more inventory space on their character, but our philosophy of design for the game was that you build vehicles and they become your inventory space. You can
Yowzer, 234 is not even close. 234. The buggy, like 270, whatever it was max. Your inventory is like 200. This 230, this looks like it could be 4,000 or 5,000. This is awesome.
see how big this is and how much volume it can hold. So the buggy really is like your mining vehicle of choice as you get into the mid-game. And if you're playing with friends, someone's on the turret, someone's in the driver's seat. You can have a friend in the passenger seat as well. You can bring multiple people, but you can also
look at the environment too. Where the hell are we? You're in this cavern. It goes down. It goes up. You know, like this looks sick. 2,500. Awesome.
Just like do this alone. Jump between seats. In the interaction menu, you just select I want to drive now. I want to sit in the turret seat and mine. But I want to talk a little bit about this location because we're in this place called the Haga Rift. And as you can see, it's this dark, gloomy, it's basically a geological ditch. And Herbert talked about this in the book. He talked about the folk of Pan and Graben. And this Graben are these big ditches, these big chasms that you have on Dune, on Arrakis. And in here, it's like the sunlight doesn't really penetrate to the bottom. And down here, there's been this ongoing war of attrition between the Atreides and the Harkonnen over this shipwreck, which is central to this area. And then as you come up out of the Haga Rift, you come back into these other areas of the map. And it's like, it's a different style and tone to the desert. And I know people have been concerned, or at least been worried that like everything's one biome. But as you go down into the Rift, you feel it's a very...
I was not concerned about that, actually. It's so interesting that he says that, look, they put lights up to kind of guide the way too. I was not concerned about that. One of my favorite things about the game that I didn't really think about until we all kind of got started was that the biomes didn't actually feel the same. I liked that you went to the Vermilius Gap when you got the red sand. And the first area, the Haga Basin, was like very typical desert. And then you would go into the Imperial testing stations and all of a sudden you're in this like demented cave with like this decrepit research station with like green plants and everything. And the shipwrecks was really awesome to be in a ship and salvage the ships. Every spot really did feel unique and you really felt like you're like a scavenger, like looking for parts instead of a downed ship. This is awesome. My God, dude. We're going to really play two of the best games out right now, EVE Online and Dune Awakening. We're really going to be Dune Eve enjoyers, Eve Dune enjoyers. We're going to have a great time.
Place. And shout out to our world director, Jeff. Like, one of his big key points about the world was making sure that we had a lot of verticality.
Jeff.
And I think Hagar Rift is like an absolutely perfect example of how you can just keep going down and down through these galleries, and there's bases built up through the entire side of it. It's just this really fun place to be.
It's like, make it deeper, make it deeper.
Exactly.
I remember he mentioned that.
And this is where all the lights come into play. So headlights on vehicles, personal lights on players come in. At this point, this is where you start bringing things.
There's some lights.
And yeah, it's
Look at this. You can climb all of those. It's my favorite thing about Dune. You can climb to the top of all of these. Remember how in Skyrim, when they said, see all that? You can go there. And it was like, some of it. You know how in Elden Ring, when you come over a mountain and you see the terrain, and you're like, I can get there. So what's up, honey? Everybody say hi, Mrs. Loru. Hi, honey. I love you a lot. Good to see you, honey. Love you a lot. You can go there. Look at this. It just works. Todd Howard, probably. Exactly. It just works. This is really cool. You can get to the top of all of this yourself, or with an ornithopter or something. Hi, honey. I love you a lot. Thank you for supporting me, honey.
It's so huge because then you fly in with an ornithopter too. It's like wide and it's really fun to explore.
Cool looking biome.
And the music and the setting and the atmosphere when you're down, right? You've been in the harsh desert and the Vermilion Steppe with like the bright lights on you the entire time, going like from shadow to shadow to preserve water. When you get down there, like,
you see that hole? You see that hole? The buggy. Oh, the buggy like. Here, back it up.
Entire time going like from shadow to shadow.
Oh, he almost like drops in. Dude's gonna have a long way back up.
To preserve water. Oh my god, dude. When you get down there, like the music team's done a very good job of just setting the atmosphere. It feels almost cool.
Is that it?
When you're done.
Be careful, I guess. Be careful, I guess, or you drop into literal hell. Look at this, dude. Sick.
That's our base in the distance.
I'm excited for this, y'all.
Where we're heading. So you can see the wreckage of like the wall. You can see that's a deserter base. Like, because of the war of attrition that's been happening here, some of the Atreides and Harkonnen have deserted, and they set up little camps around here, and they create like.
Oh my God! Tell me that's your garage.
Hazardous. But now we're coming to a base that we created for this, and this is the Atreides base building set.
Yeah.
And this kind of, I think this is a woo.
The Harkonnens and the Atreides get unique building sets that let you make everything look good. Look at the banners. Look at the shield doors. Look at the like literal Atreides symbol as it pops out in front. Y'all, the Loru gaming base in the game that we're all gonna have is like a little hub we're all gonna share. We're gonna do awesome things. We're gonna build together. Do you understand how much fun we're gonna have? Do you get it? Look at this. By the way, this is the wind trap. This is one of the devices that lets you like catch water. Look how I like how he's got this like up there, you know. This is, I love the garage with the freaking shield door. The chandeliers, I didn't even see that, dude. Hey, there's glass, right? You can melt sand.
Atreides base building set.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And this kind of, I think this is this is a great example of what you can do outside of the square blocks that everybody was seeing in beta because they only had access to the first couple of sets.
Yeah, and what's important as you get into the mid game,
because they only had access to the full of what you can do outside of the square blocks that everybody.
Y'all. Listen, I spent way too much time in Valheim making my base look great. Way too much time. Yes, correct. It is like V-Rising. I'm about to spend a lot more time. Now, we don't have dedicated servers at launch, but when there is one, we've talked about getting one for the community. Yes, correct.
You were seeing in beta because they only had...
I see the 3 on the door. What is that? I think that's the access level, James. 3 is like, there's like up to 6. So like 6 is like only the CEOs, whatever other corp can do it. I think 1 is public, something like that. I think that's what it is. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Access to the first couple of sets.
Yeah, and what's important as you get into the mid game, you start...
Yeah, I see some comments. There's no dedicated servers at launch, but they have said they will do that at some point in the future. I like this because it means that everybody has to kind of play together and figure out the game. It is an MMO. It's not a, like, you get a Rust server with 3 of your buddies and just play Rust, right? If you want to do that, you can do that later when it happens. So
building up your infrastructure.
Do me too, Jam
just as
Loser.
important as your equipment or
Big
your
water.
vehicles. So even if you lose a vehicle, right? Like you make your buggy and you get unlucky enough to get eaten by a
Sick.
sandworm. Like
I love this. They have like a ladder going up to this next floor. That's awesome.
the infrastructure will allow you to get back on your feet way quicker than that first.
They've got parked buggies on the side of the stairs.
Can we stop for a second and show a pro tip here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to pro tip something. So, can someone
Absolutely.
go and use a chest?
Yes.
A quick
Oh,
deposit.
you want to mention my favorite thing?
So if you go to the wait, is that
Show
a
me.
chest? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go to. So if you're in a chest in the game and you have a vehicle anywhere on your land claim, you can go to the top of the inventory on the left there where it says backpack. Where it says backpack on the left-hand side, whoever's driving. Up there.
up
Yep.
there.
You click the
Yes.
drop down and you can select the vehicle storage.
I spent so much time in the beta moving something from A to B. There's a drop down. They let you just do it. So many things like this in the game. It's like PI. They made the inventory management simple. Yes, please. Thank you for the pro tip, game director, Dune Awakening.
This is a massive quality of life for getting things in and out of your vehicles.
Yes.
Because we know it's a little bit hidden. It's not the easiest thing to.
They watched me playing. I spent so much time going to the buggy. I get the stuff. I go to the chest. I drop it in. I go back to the buggy. I get the stuff. I go to the chest. Hours. I spent so much time. And now you can just do a drop down. I can't believe it, dude.
But once you know about this, it ups your quality of life in the game immensely because you can just drive in with a
Job
buggy
devs.
full of stuff, go into your base, click any chest, click on the storage drop down, and start
Huge.
taking things out of the back of that vehicle.
Ooh,
It's
I haven't
something
seen
that the
these
beta
bigger
has
storage.
suggested, isn't it? Like directly?
Yes. Yeah. This was something people were asking for during the closed beta.
Yes.
And we
Exactly.
implemented it. Yeah.
Another thing.
It wasn't
that
in the
I
beta, and they implemented it because people asked for it. They're doing really good, chat.
mentioned before, which is such a small quality of life thing, but
Show
we
me
have
the
that
ornithopter.
service. You don't have to empty your chest before you
Show
can
me
move
the
them.
ornithopter.
Oh, exactly.
This
yeah.
is like that's
Yes.
just a complete mind-blowing quality of life change to me. That's like so nice.
Yeah. So the game works in these phases of like.
Assault ornithopter. There's multiple types of vehicle.
In the beginning, you need a sand bike to get off walking around, right? Then you move to the phase where you want a buggy to help you to harvest and gather resources.
Yeah.
And then you move to the phase where you want to start building your first ornithopter. And so we have an
Yeah.
example of this here. And the vehicle building in the game is very cooperative, right? You can see that these different, we're now adding permissions to allow people to.
You see this? Vehicle management, add player, permission list. You can literally say who can access this. This is important because let's say you're in a vehicle that your guild owns. If you have the proper permissions, you can add a person who's not in your guild to be able to fly the vehicle and get in the vehicle with you. Okay. This means that if you park your ornithopter somewhere in the sand, someone can't just walk in and just take your ornithopter unless you make it public, which don't do that, right? Y'all, come on. It's great.
to help us to work on this ornithopter. So these guys are all in a group.
See?
And so people can cooperatively build. And of course, this is the medium, the assault ornithopter, as we call it. So it's the medium tier.
Correct, James. If a vehicle dies, it's gone. Gone. Now, I actually killed one of my vehicles on purpose in the beta. What happens is the vehicle, it died to a sandstorm, right? Everything that was in the inventory on the vehicle was gone. There was like a couple scrap pieces left. And the vehicle sits there as a husk for like multiple in-game days as like this monument to your failure. It sucks. So you lose everything. So.
But the largest ornithopter, the transport ornithopter, also requires, a lot of parts and a lot of people.
Transport
So
ornithopter.
It's kind of part of the way we designed this was to make sure that we have this collaborative building system in the game, both
Okay.
for buildings and for vehicles.
Yep.
This is my favorite part of the game. Just the building the vehicles actually physically in the world, right? Putting the pieces there, working with
Feet,
your friends to
boost.
make all the parts of them, and then
Wings.
like mixing and matching the different modules to make
This
the
looks
vehicle,
awesome.
fit the role that you want to
Yeah.
use the vehicle with for that moment.
Yeah, and vehicles come with different module sets, right? So you can put inventories on some.
Look at it.
Like we talked about the buggy. You can actually have a rocket turret on top of the buggy, which I think you saw in the combat trailer earlier. Yeah. You saw the buggy firing rockets. So you can have different types of things on the different vehicles. And we'll continue to expand that post-launch as well, making the vehicles more and more useful.
Come on, stop teasing me. Finish it.
Yeah, it's fun, right? And then I guess the other side of this is that we can...
Look at the missile launcher, dude. Yeah! Yo, look at this!
We can start talking about variants and swatches, which is our customization system.
He's actually going to change in a second.
Yeah.
Paint jobs. Make it your own. That's true. Shyalicious. Very, very true. So, incredible.
See that. So there we go.
Yeah.
And you are correct, Greg. We actually detail this out over on our Patreon. We use our Patreon like it's a blog. We detail it out all there. Look at this.
So this
Ornithopter.
These guys are aligned with the Atreides.
Boo.
So here we just switched out the Atreides. And
Beautiful.
A variant, just to put the distinction in place, a swatch allows you to change the color sets, but a variant allows you to change the physical visual.
So
this is the shape of the Atreides.
Interesting.
It's got the hawk-like lines. It's got
So the Atreides Assault Ornithopter has a different look than the Harkonnen Assault Ornithopter. Really cool. From a distance, you can see who's your enemy, who's your friend. Sick.
sharp angles.
Boo.
And the Harkonnen have more of an insectile kind of feel.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And so this is and you
I
earn
love
these
this.
variants in this case by
Multiple seats. You can see two seats, right?
leveling up.
I see 3 seats. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have such a good time, dude.
Factions, which is a part of the mid game, which we aren't really showing a ton of that today. But as you join a faction, go through their quest lines, you earn access to these kind of variants and things like that. And then you're able to use the Atreides colors and swatches and variants.
Yeah, both on vehicles and your armor, right? So
Yes, vehicles, armors.
You can represent with
How
your,
big it is. It's as big as their
Harkonnen
base.
clothes running in the deep desert.
Yes.
Perhaps.
And that's it's important to note that like a lot of our philosophy around this was as well, like you create, so let's say you create a tier 4, like a mid-tier armor set, and it's like a scout armor. You can variant swap that to look like.
Look at it. Look at it. This is the medium-sized one. The wings are glitching, fine, sure. This is the medium-sized one. Okay.
Any other scout armor in the game. You can't turn it into a heavy armor or a combat armor because we want people to understand in PvP what they're fighting. But you can change it into any other visual of a scout armor. And it's the same with social clothing. It's the same with...
Did they make this video for me? Did they look me up and say, yeah, we got to do flips. We got to do barrel rolls. You can't do that, Starbucks. Did they make it for me?
Obviously combat armor, and it's the same with still suits, which I mentioned, which are kind of our 4 major armor types in the game.
And as you mentioned, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say social.
This is not just for PvE. Do you understand? Get this kind of ship to go into bigger areas of the game. I played a lot of World of Warcraft. A lot is an understatement, okay. My slash played would be years, to be honest, okay. And something I was annoyed at is that the mounts were almost purely cosmetic. It didn't really open up as much of the game. I would have liked the mounts to be more functional than just I go up and go fast. So what you're seeing is that the area of the game was literally made for this upgrade. The fact that there's so much down and up, so much verticality, getting this becomes a function of necessity. Does that make sense? Okay. And then add in the fact that you can do this for like PvP. Add in the fact that you can go into the deep desert and in the distance, you'll see an assault ornithopter. And if you're Harkonnens, you're going to go, we have Atreides coming in with 4 or 5 up there. Guild Wars 2 has this with mounts. Yes. One of my favorite things. I love Guild Wars 2. A fantastic game. We played it on stream back in the day. This is really cool. Do I need a moment alone? Honestly, yeah. Can you give me like 5 minutes, Chad?
Into a heavy armor or a combat armor because
let's watch it again.
We want people to understand in PvP what they're fighting, but you can change it into any other visual of a scout armor. And it's the same with social clothing. It's the same with, obviously combat armor, and it's the same with still suits,
Yeah.
which I mentioned, which are kind of our 4 major armor types in the game.
And as you mentioned, oh sorry.
No, I was
And
just
that's
going to say social medium, social scout, combat, and
Still suits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what they're showing right now is the vulture mode and
Yes.
the ornithopters.
I love this.
Ornithopters are great, right? Because you have your helicopter mode where you can move in all directions. You can switch to the vulture mode, and then it's more of like a glider where you're going up
Right.
and down to gain speed.
Sick. Now we're in the shield wall.
Yeah, so
Basically,
different zone.
airplane mode and helicopter mode, so to speak.
Yeah,
right?
Sort of.
it's like a hover mode and a glide
Yeah.
mode, right?
Yeah.
And the vulture mode allows you
Trying
to
to
be
see if I see anything else. Look how tall these are.
maneuverable.
Again, you need
see
the
that they have a
ornithopter.
boost module.
So
Actually, this is fun. Like when you get to too high an altitude, you start increasing your fuel consumption, which prevents people from going too high.
see,
in the game.
again, this is what I'm talking about. One of my least favorite things in video games is when there's just like an invisible wall. Up, you can't go that high. You can't go there. Up, yep, I'm just walking and there's a wall, okay? Subnautica did this. There wasn't an edge to the map. If you go too far off the map, you're in for a surprise. That feels in universe. Feels good. And it makes sense. If you go too high, all of a sudden the oxygen's thinner, you use more fuel. So you can go too high and you can go above people. Love Subnautica in Drusilla. I haven't played the second one yet, maybe one day on stream, okay? I did a permadeath the first one, and we did it on my first try. All right, it was my second try, but the first playthrough through it, we did a permadeath run. It was we got to the end without dying. It was tough. So, love
So
this.
good to know
Love this
for
kind of
people who wanna
game
stay,
design. Very
close
good.
to the ground. Yeah, and now we're flying through an area of the map known as the Shield Wall, which is on the para-northern side of the Haggard
it's
Basin.
like he's
We
using
can
a
talk about the
booster of some
para-directions
kind.
at some point,
Yep.
because that's always awkward and weird. But because
Yes.
para-north is really south in relative terms to the map. But this is
Correct.
these are rocky areas, so the sandworm is less of a threat up here, but the enemies are much harder, and the resources you gather up here are much more value, right? To
That's a really good point. And I like that they do this, where I was sitting here thinking, man, I'm not going to run to the worm at all. The worm's not coming in here. Right. Welcome to like an end game area. Like if you're using other MMO terms, this is like, if we're using EVE terms, this is nullsec. This is wormhole space, where it's more dangerous, where the mobs are tougher and there's better loot and the players are there too.
to what you're doing. So these are areas where you harvest.
And the
yeah.
first time you're coming here, you don't
udon.
actually have an ornithopter. More than likely,
Yes.
you don't, right? So
Yes.
then you're having to make the choice of like, do you bring your buggy here, which is really high, really hard to get to,
True.
or do you go with your sand bike and try
Yeah.
to climb up the wall? So it's ultimately it's about choice, how you go to each of the biomes, and then which vehicles you bring, right? Which enable
Right.
different mechanics based on the one you want.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
And
like
there's
this
no
area-
local chat, baby. There's a chat, but I don't know the extent of it. I don't know if people are going to be looking at the Dune Awakening chat as like an intel source. I'm not sure about that yet.
area we're in now is known as the Uldum as well, and the Uldum has a little
Ornithopter.
more plant growth
Yeah.
and a little more greenery, and that's because the Uldum is an area where they were doing experiments on some of the land, and we won't talk too much about it, but yeah,
Sure.
we're gonna fly over. I guess this is
Another player
This
base.
is our second
This
base.
is our
yes.
second base on the shield wall. Yeah, so this is the
Cool.
That's a Penta
guild
shield.
base. So this is further into the game. People have progressed a bit. They're probably so we divide the game into 4 phases: survive, protect, expand, and control. So this
We divide the game into 4 phases: survive, protect, expand, and control. You start with surviving, then you protect your area, and you get to a point where you're comfortable, then you expand, and then you have to control more. Now you have to actually fight to control stuff. Now I see why they were describing it as similar to EVE Online and Endgame, because that's how EVE plays. First you get to a point where you survive, then you like get your area, you like protect it, then you expand it as much as you can. Now you have to control your stuff. So interesting.
would be here. You're either on the expand or the control part of the game. The sort of last 2 phases, right?
Right,
So
right.
you've got a bigger guild. You're working with a larger group of people.
Bro, can
potentially.
you park this?
You can still play the game solo at this point. Everything just takes a little longer and is a little harder to do on your own, right?
My man's-
And that's you can
My man's parallel parked the heck out of that ornithopter.
still
Well
do
done.
it. You can craft these ornithopters. There's no
Look at
problem.
this.
But we encourage people to play
This is really cool. They have these like shielded areas, so you're still notice we're water sealed. There's a little thing here that says water sealed, even though the sun is still hitting us. This is some kind of shield that you can put your vehicles through and land in, but you're still water sealed. It's in the house still. That's still pretty sick. I like that.
Together and work together in a multiplayer game.
And we're
look at this.
showing off some building sets we've never shown before.
Yes.
These
Yes.
will be the
I was going to say that the hatch into the staircase is really good use.
Multiplayer game.
Love
We're
that.
showing off some building sets.
I didn't think
we've
about
never
that.
shown Before.
Yes.
These
Yes.
will be the Twitch drops.
These are Twitch drops, yeah.
Exactly. So the one this is actually the show
Hey, you want the Twitch drops? Show up live. We're going to be streaming on the 5th live. It's going to be great.
that one's
An
show
SPF shield.
building set.
Good.
But
Like that.
those round
Look at this pace.
windows and the ceiling pieces, pretty much everything that's more metal than like white stone, those are actually going to be Twitch drops that you will get. So they kind of expand on the existing Chome tier set, which I love them. I think they're very cool.
Yeah.
They're
We're going to have people that are going to be in the base fabricating. We're going to have indie people in the base, indieing all over the place. We're going to have hunter-gatherers that are going out to go kill mobs. We're going to have literal gatherers that just want to pick flowers and go get rocks. We're going to have minor buggy rock enjoyers that are going to go get stuff. We're going to have people that are going to have to go on ops. We're going to have to bring Ornithopters to go into the Endgame area of the deep desert. We're going to have to do all this, then come back to base and defend our area. Look at this. Look at it. I've been playing survival games my entire life. This looks sick.
they're really cool looking.
I'm in, dude.
Yeah, and
I'm
you
in.
can see what we'd expect a guild base to look like, right? Lots of production going on. It was something that we were really like pushy on in the game development, making sure that the fabricators actually show the items being crafted as they
Yeah.
craft, so you see.
Because you can sell armor on the market. The guild base is going to want to have multiple crafters to be able to make some items and then go put it up on the market and see what sells. Going to have medevac people on standby. Okay, this is at launch. Do you understand? This is just what's happening at launch. Guys, I've been playing survival games my entire life. Minecraft, Valheim. I have hundreds of hours in Valheim. I love survival games. Okay, and the fact that I miss the Division 1's Dark Zone. I miss it so much. The fact that this literally feels like that, but better. Okay, I'm in. Now I agree. Eli, the melee combat needs improving. I like the range combat. The melee combat needs improving, but it's just at launch. We'll see.
Them
So cool.
form up inside the fabrication units. And yes, I know.
Not yet, Bobo. How we're doing our guild is the paying patrons get prio access, and it's going to be a first come first serve. We have literally hundreds of people trying to get into this guild, not just the patrons, but also our like members. Okay, also our like massive following. So, which I have now. Thank you very much. Okay, God bless all of you here. What we're going to do is going to be a first come first serve basis. If you can sign up and if you can play, great. If you are in on the 5th, you're going to get prio access. That's the only way we can do this because there's only 32 people per guild. That sucks. Now we can get multiple guilds, but that's going to be a little bit tougher. The point is, when we get dedicated servers, we're just going to have a dedicated server for like the community. But at launch, it's going to have to be who's there on the day. That's what we're doing with it because it's the only way to be fair. I can't reserve spots. I gotta if you show up, you're there. When we'll have a guild alliance for sure. Yes.
So this isn't exactly something from Dune lore. This is one of the places where I was like, I have to make a concession to the game. They don't have fabricators. They're not mentioned in the lore, but
Well,
it's
sure.
fine because it's
It
cool.
looks cool.
It looks cool.
in some
I'm in.
cases.
Absolutely.
And this is a vehicle fabricator, yeah.
Oh,
There's also
snap,
circuits.
dude.
Have we ever talked about circuits before?
Nope, not actively. You can please feel free.
Circuits.
They're pretty neat. It's not like as intense as like Factorio, right? Making blue science or anything like that. But you are able to set up different circuits in your base, so you can have some containers feeding into some fabricators feeding into others. You'll never have 100% automation like you would get in a factory builder game, but it does enable you as you get to mid game to start having a fair bit of automation in the game when you're playing, because water and electricity become quite a burden if you don't start upgrading your gear and the infrastructure like we were talking about before.
I can set up a chest at the front of the base. That's on circuit 8. All of the raw metal gets put into this box. All of the factories around the base are taking input from circuit 8. You don't have to remember where your chest is. This is the one. You don't have to you don't have to have the wall of chests like in Minecraft, right? You did, Harry. You did. Did they think of everything?
Game that you're playing, because water and
Really
electricity
good.
become
Really
quite
good.
a burden if you don't start upgrading your gear.
I didn't realize I could be more excited for this game than I am.
Passive ways to get water, which is a huge help because
Yes.
water in the mid and to the end game even is really important through all aspects, not
bet.
just survival but also crafting.
For my fellow lore nerds out there, we call the passive water generation wind traps.
I was just about to say there are actually some wind traps on this. And,
Yeah.
Correct.
we've seen some while we walked by them.
I love seeing this base.
And yeah, it's just like you also see here how much
Cool.
bigger
Ah,
those
little bedroom,
refineries are.
you
There's
know?
also a spice refinery.
little lounge area, you know, like after you've done a long day of crafting, I gotta tell you, when games let you make a little cozy spot, I love that. Valheim did this really well. Timethrower and I we have our own little Valheim world that we play like once a month, and it's so much fun because we made ourselves a little cozy bedroom, and like the beds are like, we have like little like bunk beds like side by side. It's so silly. And then we get out of those, and then there's like all of our armors right there, and there's like a little strategy table to like plan our little ops. It's so adorable. I love it. It's just so cute. I love this stuff, dude. It's
You
awesome.
also see here
Dune has PvP elements, yes. Where it starts and stops is a question I need answered. The Deep Desert is the endgame area that's like the Dark Zone that has full PvP. The rest of the game, I don't know where the PvP starts and ends yet. Let's see. Does Dune have controller support? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to be on mouse and keyboard. I'm not sure, Harry. It's a great question. I'm not sure.
how much bigger those refineries are. We also saw a spice refinery as well, actually. Like
Yeah, there was
the
spice
round- the round
refineries there.
tubes.
Yep.
Oh, it.
Yeah, and that we just saw a room with some decorations in it as well.
Yeah.
Like just to you can
Cool
you can
spice, yep.
pimp up your area.
These are spice refineries, right? Pulling the spice out of the sand.
in a sense, like put out holograms. It was quite funny because here's a fun anecdote from development. The artist
no.
made a bunch of the artist made a bunch of pot plants for people to put in their bases, and I was like, guys, it's June.
There is no water to water those
So we have a lot of
Dune.
holograms
in your
plants now.
buildings. Yeah,
I was like,
they
we
look
can
great
have.
though.
Then I keep saying the word holograms. Sorry, everyone. Solido projections.
Solido projections.
Solido projections. Of plants.
Whatever,
Okay,
dude.
yeah.
We all got it.
I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad if I wasn't me right now.
If you like decorations, you need to explore quite a bit,
Yes.
right? You know, we don't unlock them all.
Yes.
Go to trade posts.
Yes. Make cosmetics one of the best game design decisions any game can make like this, especially when it's a multiplayer game like this, is making the cosmetics be something you have to discover. Making how good something looks be bound to how far you progress and explore in the game. So if you have cosmetics that are in certain trade hubs, we saw this in the beta, certain traders had certain things, and I was like, why would I buy a chair from a trader? I don't need the trader. Because Fashion Wars is right. Inderso.
Posts, go to places where there are people, you can unlock tons of the stuff that you're seeing around in the
Yes.
base here.
Exactly.
Look at
You
these
have
cool
to
couches.
work a little bit for
You'd have to
it,
work a
though.
little bit
Yes.
for it.
Sick.
Like explore, find people.
Little cool bed.
They'll sell you stuff.
And obviously these doors,
Or-
the pentashield doors and things as well. Like once you reach a certain stage in June, you can put
Little
shielded
hatch
doors out,
action.
so you don't have to have doors that open and close.
Exactly.
And that's really useful for when
Look
you
at this
want-
wind
you have
trap,
flying
dude.
Vehicles you want to land in hangars.
Look at this wind trap. Go back. Look at this. The wind passes through it and it collects water. Look at this.
Exactly.
And that's really useful for when you want to have flying.
Sick. It takes particle filters as a upkeep. It has a filter and it gives you water. Look at this. Look at this.
Vehicles you want to land in hangars. You don't have to wait for a door to open.
Some of the cool stuff I've seen in beta is they will make a huge base, but it's kind of covering a road. So they'll open up
yep.
the middle of it and then set the permissions on the pinto shields so that you can actually drive
Public,
through it. So
yes.
you can't go
Makes
into their
sense.
base, but you can still go through the middle of
Yes.
their base,
Yeah.
which is nice.
It's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Good guy players.
Good guy players, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're actually gonna go
Super
up
sick.
to the roof now and build a transport ornithopter.
nice.
Great.
Which
We're building
not
the big
yet?
one?
Okay, not yet.
No, we're not.
Excuse me.
No, we're not.
We're gonna run on the base.
Natasha.
Wrong. We're
Yeah.
still.
How dare
doing
you.
other things.
That's an. Yeah. Okay.
But
Look
what we'd like to do is because we're actually going to go to a social hub later on.
Okay.
And we'd like to throw that to. Unfortunately, we can do only Twitch. So I'm sorry, YouTube. We love you over there too. It's just our bot is being a bit difficult. So we'd like to do a poll, throw that to Twitch chat only. For today.
Yes.
Which of the social hubs you'd like to see? We have 2 available in the game right now.
All right, we'll let them do their poll. Let's fast forward a little bit. Just kidding. We're going to take off. So let's just enjoy this.
Right now.
Just kidding.
One is Arcane, the other one is Harco. and you can choose which of those you'd like to see today. So we give
Everybody's
you
a dragonfly. Let's go.
to vote on
Look
that
at
while
this.
our rock stars and wizards behind the scenes are preparing
awesome,
their polls
dude.
for you, if it's not running already.
Yeah, show the map, dude.
And,
Where are we going?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
One of the cool things that they were just showing there is the vehicle backup tool.
Love
I
this.
don't know if we've talked about that on stream too much.
The Adderall
But
squad.
Once you build a sand bike or a light ornithopter, you can actually build a tool to hide it, or like, what's the lore reason, Joel?
Let's go with the Ritchie's perfected miniaturization technology.
Sure.
And
There you go.
the player is able to miniaturize their vehicle, and it's only
So the Scout Ornithopter, which is the smallest one, and the sand bike, you can actually store in a thing you can put in your pocket. And it's something I didn't realize until late in the beta, that you can literally just take it with you. I would park my sand bike and come back to it. I had no reason to do that. I could just take it with me. Now, if the inventory is full, has stuff in it, if the inventory of the sand bike has anything in it, even one item, you can't put it in your pocket. So I would fill up my inventory, I would dump stuff at the sand bike, and now I have to leave it there and I have to come back to it. Does that make sense? So, not the same company. This is made by Funcom. No Man's Sky is made by Hello Games. So very interesting stuff here. Very
it
interesting.
only works for vehicles that have nothing in their inventory.
Correct, yeah.
And two types of vehicle: the sand bike and
Yes.
the light scout
There you go.
ornithopter.
Yes.
Oh, we're flying
Look at this.
past.
Highly recommend always using it, right? When
Yes.
you're going to a location,
Yes.
land, store your vehicle,
Yes.
don't let it get destroyed by a sandstorm.
I learned
Exactly.
that the hard way myself.
Me too.
So
Same,
I
Natasha.
will never do that mistake ever again.
I see we've gone with.
What about a dead worm in the middle of this that ruptured through, that has been killed? What about that?
Spoiler territory here, and we're flying over the giant power station of Misatariel.
Sick.
Look,
I don't want to talk too much about it, but we'll let people figure that out.
Yeah,
in the game.
dude.
It looks
Talk
cool.
about
it's
it.
my favorite
Looks like-
location.
Me too.
It's
Mine
really
too.
absolutely amazing.
Mine
Looks like
too.
And the
Mine too.
story involved in it is
So
really cool.
please look forward to it.
The noise this ship makes when you hit vulture mode and you start gliding gives me a like viscerally positive reaction. I don't know what that is, but the moment I feel like I'm in Avatar, the Blue People movie, where they like just start gliding down. That is sick.
And there we have someone doing their vulture roll.
My
It's very
man.
nice. Can you hit your scanner as well, whoever's flying?
Yes, hit the scanner.
Did it?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
like that's vehicles obviously get like players got hand scanners probably in the beta, but now you're up to the stage where you actually have a scanner.
Yes.
And you're scanning entire like islands by pumping C. So the idea is that again, as you progress, everything just takes a step up in how quickly you can do things. We wanted the game to feel, well, you've put in the effort.
Why this was important. See how there's like sand over here? So when you have a sand bike, you can go into the sand and you can scan stuff, and there's actually super rare, it's like 2 tiers up buried in the sand. But you have to be on the sand bike to get out there. So you're on like a very big timer. The worm's going to show up. But if you're on an ornithopter, you can find that stuff a little bit easier. So every tier up, it like introduces you to the top, and then you tech up, and then it lets you do more things. And then now it's kind of hard, and you tech up, and that same stuff that was hard is now easy. But now you have access to stuff. There's this really awesome, really very satisfying tech up thing here. It's great. It's great. So it may same honestly, yeah.
To get this
Yes.
vehicle, we're going to give you the convenience of being able to scan an entire island. Very
Look at the poll. They shouldn't display it because people are gonna do halvesies on Twitch. Look at this. It's literally half, dude. It's so funny.
right?
Yeah.
I
This
love
is
it.
a trade post.
Yep.
This is the Crossroads trade post.
Play into that.
Look at the poll. It's super tight. I love that. Like right now, Arkane is slightly winning. So let's go,
Harco Village
Harkonnen.
is cooler.
I agree. I agree though. Well, both
We're going to see some footage from Harko no matter
are
what we do.
super
today.
cool,
that's
though.
true.
Both are
True.
super cool, but I do like.
Yeah, it's just because you're an evil person.
I want to talk about call Natasha evil. What the heck? Natasha's killing it. I want to look at the weapons here. We got a sword. We have a I believe that's might be a shotgun, but it also might be like a DMR. This is the rifle. It's like not a DMR, but it's not a pistol. It's like mid close. Then I don't know what this is. This might be a laser gun. This might be their cut array, like advanced one. This is the scanner to scan your surroundings. This is med packs to heal. This is water, and this is your Solido. This is your vehicle suck up. So
I
you like
am.
Harkonnens?
I am just like
exactly,
About
Cass.
whipping
Exactly.
You know the fun part is I always try to go evil in like games where you have a choice, and then I end up
course.
good anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
because
bad
you
for
can't
the-
bring yourself to do
Feel
it.
bad for
No.
those characters,
So-
I'm
right?
just, yeah.
So these are
Okay.
the pilots. They were disabled in the beta. You may have met one at the first trade post if you were playing.
And we're going to Arkane, by the way.
We're going to
one.
Arkane?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
It's fine.
So we're gonna go and visit Arakeen. All right, that's cool.
So you have to pay Solaris. Back it up.
So we're gonna go and visit Arakeen. All right.
So Arakeen and Harco Village. So both of these like main villages are outside of the map you're in. And I didn't know this. You have to pay Solari credit or Solari coins to get in. It's 2,500 Solaris. So I believe Solari credit is probably going to be their premium currency, and which is not really applicable here because I know it's going to be for cosmetics, whatever. Solari coin is going to be the stuff you can earn in game. So it looks like you have to pay money to get there. I actually really like this because it means you can't just rush something. You have to actually, in order to get to the best quest, the best stuff, you have to grind a little bit, and you were able to get 2,500 Solaris is not hard. I got that before maybe before level 15 if I was really focusing on it. So probably for level 10. I like this. We'll see. I wonder if they're going to make Thopter races official like World Torpedoes and Guild Wars 2. Yeah, we'll see.
That's cool.
We'll see Arakeen.
The pilot only takes cash.
Yep.
So you can't have credit. You have to have cash. So we're heading to Arakeen.
She doesn't use it on sunscreen, that's for sure, because she was really sunburned. Like, so let's just get that out there. Yes.
F is.
But yeah, you need to have the cash on you as well.
That's true, Bob.
One of the features in the game that we haven't really spoken about too much. I mean, well, we have a bit. We've spoken, but I don't think people picked it up in the beta. Oh, here we go. Well, I'll let us arrive because this is cool. This is Arakeen. And as we arrive in Arakeen,
cool.
So one of the features we have in the game is the CommuniNet system. And when a player opens their CommuniNet, they can choose radio stations to listen to in the game.
It's so weird.
A la like a Fallout game or a GTA game. And this guy, Finno Gary, he runs this trash shop, but he actually has a show on the Atreides radio.
Oh, it's that guy.
And if you listen to the show, it's his daughter talking.
Atreides Desert Light Armor set variant. Harkonnen Scout set armor variant. So this is not getting an armor piece. This is a different look to your armor sets. Harkonnen buggy variant. So again, not an actual buggy, but make it look like it's your preferred side. Harkonnen still suit, Harkonnen bedroom furniture set. This is cool. Welcome into the fashion of Dune Awakening. I'm in, dude. I'm in for this. Absolutely.
Talking about their adventures on how they got all this.
Raven, you're gonna love it, Raven. It's awesome. Blank sync chart. I wonder what those were. This was a special item for planetologists. We'll have to come back to that.
Shows up. So it's kind of fun to just like...
And of course, buy some of the craftables. And like, look, if you have an excess of items, one of the things that we're going to make and one of the guides that we're going to do is if you have an excess of Solaris, you can actually spend the Solaris, thanks for using my code, on the craftables, and you can use it to craft more stuff. So you don't have to sit there with like 30,000, whatever the heck. You can spend that on craftables just to get your stuff going.
Narratively, listen, we tried to connect everything in the world. This is, again, I want to make this point because I feel like I see it sometimes online, and it's a little, let's say, disheartening. People, we were advertising the game and saying the word MMO, and then people were like, oh, they took all that off, and we took it off because we do feel like this is a huge world completely worth exploring with lots of other people, but it's not an MMORPG, and people were getting confused by that. So we took it down, but I think...
That makes sense. This is not like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. This is more like Rust or Valheim. Now, Valheim doesn't have talents like this. This game has a lot more depth, talents, and the customization than Valheim does. So it really does a good job of kind of being in the middle there. I agree it's an MMO, but it's an MMO survival game. This is something not necessarily new, but a concept done right is beautiful, right? Interstellar, did you see that?
Clear.
Go back.
Huge world off.
Look at this.
We took it off because we do feel like this is a huge world.
I don't know about y'all. I grew up in Tyria in Guild Wars 1. If I see a picture of Lion's Arch, I get a lot of warm, fuzzy feelings of Droxforge, right? I grew up in Orgrimmar in World of Warcraft. Yeah, for the Horde, baby. Come on now. Come on, When I played Classic WoW a couple years ago, and I walked back in with my level 7, whatever the heck character, and I walk in, and you hear the bum, 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 and you see the red sand of the towers, and you see like the max level Tauren shamans running around. You just go, we home. There's this moment where you're like, and this, honestly, chat, I get kind of a similar vibe.
That off, and we took it off because we do feel like this is a huge world completely worth exploring with lots of other people, but it's not an MMORPG, and people were getting confused by that. So we took it down, but I think it's clear when you look at places like our social hubs, our exchange system, our banking system, that we have a lot of elements from those style of games here, right?
The market.
our exchange system, our
Buy light armor, heavy armor, steel suits, literally all the stuff you can get, anything you can craft, you can put it on the market for Solaris.
banking system, that we have a lot of elements from those style of games here.
Sell poison, sell cutter rays, sell scythes, sell heals. This is really cool. You're going to have the market is going to be not so, the market's not going to be like Eve, y'all. It's going to be more like it is in World of Warcraft, where items are going to kind of spike at the front, and they're going to flood the market, and there's going to be a bunch of them. They're going to drop in price, and it's going to kind of even out as people level and go through the game. Markets in these kind of game are more about what is the graph of the player base. So if the player base is mostly at the beginning of the game instead of, if the player base is all in the middle of the game, then the items that are at mid game are going to be the highest price. If the players are all at the start of the game are like this, there's more players at the beginning, right? And none are at the end. The price of these items are going to be super, super high. And like, depending. If the game is like this, where most of the players are at the end, the stuff at the beginning is going to be high. So depending on where the player base is, that's how the market is going to be in these kind of games. We're going to do those guides too. Okay.
Right. So yeah, we're looking at
the
the
Horde
exchange
Eclipse.
right now.
That's right, brother. Garrosh did nothing
Players
wrong.
can post things on the exchange, and this is the banker.
Would you like to dip
My man. Go back.
Players can post things on the exchange, and
My man. My man can't eat food, Chad, without it going through his whale freaking, filters over it. My man's got a built-in filter for his food. As sometimes you got to do it. Did they put Sequisha in a game? By the way, love Sequisha's content. He does good work. If it sounds like I'm jealous, it's because I am. Okay.
this is the banker.
Would you like to dip
One of the great things here is you can actually
That's true,
store, items and
Banker?
credits, right?
Banker?
So say you're going to take a long vacation, you're worried about your base getting destroyed for some reason, you can actually fly to Arakeen and dump a bunch of stuff in here.
I was like,
Have they thought of everything? Have they thought of everything, bro? What's up, Makanaki? Good to see you. If you're taking a break from the game, your base has a timer on it. If your power generators go off, which they do after a certain amount of time, you have to give them fuel cells, then your base starts decaying. The sandstorm starts destroying your game, which starts destroying your stuff. And if the power's off, anybody can enter your base and take from your chests. If you're leaving the game, you can put your valuables in a chest in Arakeen, in one of these places, to leave your valuables and come back to the game later. Ladies and gentlemen, they want you to play the game at your pace. That's what we're all about here, baby. Excellent. I agree, Shailesh. That's great. When the first new Dune movie was coming out, I decided to rewatch the old 84 version. Yeah, big mistake.
the thing is, like, one of the great things
It's a
here
weird
is his mustache.
Sure, yeah, that's also
Expecting it to
fantastic.
come in on the mustache.
I mean, we've all seen the
Fantastic mustache. You also pay taxes here.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
you need to,
Gotta pay taxes.
for the bigger
Gotta keep your
sub fees,
shields
you
up.
actually need to make sure you have your taxes.
That sounds like it's a generic thing. If you have a bigger base, you have to pay taxes, and if you don't pay your taxes to the emperor or whatever, then your fief, your little base area, is put in jeopardy, and people can come take your crap. This means that, again, if you have a tribe, whatever guild, that is not active anymore, and you don't do a couple things, your base becomes raidable. It becomes open upable. You know how in Ark Survival, like if someone drops a foundation, they've now claimed an area and it's theirs basically forever? Not so in Dune Awakening. This is one of the ways that they mean you have to be online and playing. You can't just like take over a whole map with your stuff and then you own everything. You have to actually play the game in order to own an area of space. We like this. Yes, I agree, Shailesh. Exactly. Correct.
Just pay to the...
Pay your taxes, Joe.
and this is where you pay. This is the,
Look at this.
the imperial consulate, as we call it. This is where you go to pay.
This looks like the room from the movie where they met Stilgar for the first time.
So the first sub-fief console that you place on Arrakis, the
Gotta pay my
basic one that you
taxes.
place in the starting area.
Gotta get 'em.
You don't have any taxes to pay on that. But once you get a bit further into the game, and you start building bigger bases, you pay taxes.
You again.
Once you start expanding that land claim, which you do through these land claim extenders, you start paying more tax.
Now, this is very important. He mentioned this, but he kind of went fast. You had your starter base, you don't have to pay taxes on it. You can only have 2 little bases at any time, and those bases cannot be expanded past their stuff. So when I played in the beta, I didn't need to expand past that because I had my sand bike, I had my crafters, and that's that. But you saw the big bases that they had here. Absolutely, you're going to need to expand and go further and faster. 100%. When that happens, you then have an advanced sub-fief, and you're going to have to pay tax on this. Looks like this guy's 3,000, 2,000 Solaris. Sure, you have to keep going with this. I like this system, again, because it means you have to play the game to take over an area of space. If your generator runs out of fuel, your shield drops, and it's like putting a big neon sign. I did that in the beta. I walked into someone's base. That's how I got my first still suit. Someone didn't pay their crap. So I got a free still suit, baby. Yeah, it's great.
So the idea is that the larger guilds have more members who are more capable of achieving things in the game, they have a higher tax rate because they're building out larger spaces. And that, that's our way of making it fair for people who only play solo as well. So they don't have as much tax to pay.
There you go. The other to keep it going. Pretty sick. They really have thought of a lot of this here.
That's where you really progress through the factions.
It's great.
Right. So here's where you're going to come and officially join the Atreides or
Scotty.
join the Harkonnens and start vying for the Land's Red system and getting involved in the politics of the entire world.
And this is where the advanced trainers are as well.
Yeah.
For people who want to progress past the basic level of training the
advanced trainers are here. This lets you get level 2 and level 3 skills. How the talent trees work is your base points will give you like a 5% increase. And if you want to add another point into that dot to take it from 5% to 10%, you have to go to the advanced trainer. They're in these social hubs.
Their particular chosen classes.
Except for Derek.
Oh, Derek, the planetologist, he's everywhere.
He is everywhere.
He's everywhere.
He's a wandering
planetologist.
You can find him anywhere.
Yeah.
Bro wanders.
He's here. He's there. He's
everywhere.
Derek Chenard. Okay, no, enough. Sorry.
This looks really sick.
No, but you have contracts here, of course, as well, and
quests.
specific vendors, so they have a lot of things to sell as well.
Yes.
Vendors.
And the main story brings you to these locations as well.
Okay.
Yes. So now we actually get a glimpse at the Overland.
Yes. So you can use the pilots in the trade post to fly to the hubs like we showed, and you use those same pilots to get back. But once you have your own Ornithopter, you can just fly to the edge of the Haga Basin map, and you'll get a prompt asking you if you'd like to go to the Overland map.
Cool.
And this is the Overland map. And this is, again, one of the things that I think kind of breaks us away from your standard survival game. This is where we have the ability to infinitely expand this game, where we have multiple maps that players can go to. I think this is where you go to reach the deep desert. This is where you go to reach several of the story maps. Right now, we've landed on a fuel deposit. And we're just picking up a bit of fuel, refueling our Ornithopter on there. We're able to expand here for a long time. And
So this is like a mini game for the map. That you have your Ornithopter, it has water and fuel. And in order to get to certain places, you have to stop at spots on the mini map and explore this little map mini game. So they've made the map something that you have to survive as well. Interesting. Don't know how I feel about this. We'll have to see about it in action and think on it. I'm not sure.
It's kind of part of what, again, we wanted to do to make this a coherent universe, right? And make Dune feel like something that, we're going to be working on and adding to for a long time.
So post-launch, there will be new locations that show up here.
Yes.
We'll have events that have locations here for short durations.
How do you find them?
To shake things up. And, eventually when we release huge content drops, they'll be accessible through the Overland map.
The Overland map.
Exactly. One other thing that you can find
Look at this.
in the Overland map, which also goes into the story, that we really would like to talk a little bit more about, because we haven't really, as you mentioned.
I think they got to explain this better, because this kind of looks tedious. This is kind of cool. It's not. I agree, Shy, that it's not just a cutscene. I think they got to explain this more, because how do I find stuff? Because if I'm just left clicking on a 2D map trying to find a spot, I don't know. That doesn't sound like super fun. So I think they have to kind of explain this more, because the idea is very intriguing. They've literally made the literal map, something you have to explore. Okay.
It takes a while to also get the story going, so people during the beta weekend haven't actually seen much of that. Yeah. So via the Overland map, you can also access.
I like their background. Look, we got a Chris knife. You got the Baron. You got Paul. We got some plants. We got some. Of course, we got the books. We got books. We got some really good background. Nice the poster. Yep. Got some Funkos. Got the I want that Ornithopter, bro. Give me that. Where do I buy that, dude? Let's say we got I like the worm bookend. Look at that. That's nice. I like that. I agree.
some of
Yes,
the story
Blood.
dungeons.
Right. It feels like a Final Fantasy map. That's kind of what I thought of. Where you like zoom out and you're like, okay, where am I going to go? I played a lot of Final Fantasy X back in the day.
And we actually do have some footage of one of those dungeons that await you. And Joel and Scott can probably give a little bit of context what we're seeing.
Part of Act 2.
So here we're not going to spoil too much of the story, but this is kind of the theme of Act 2, right? You've moved from a survivor doing the trials, now you're getting involved in the politics.
Look, the kitten is back.
Yeah, so there's a lot more interaction with.
She did not just call me a kitten. Ladies and gentlemen, we found the Discord mod coming out. You know what I'm saying? One, Whiskey Mike just goes, one, just sees the attractive brunette, just wood.
Dialogue,
Well
a lot
done.
more cinematics. And a lot of locations outside the Hogger Basin. That
Now it's time for politics, Jay.
One of my favorite characters.
Time for
too.
politics.
I love
Let's see
her.
it.
Everyone does.
In the
kind of.
Cone of Silence.
We didn't mention the Cone of Silence, but you're inside the Cone of Silence here, and the game actually dampens all the sound outside of it
Sick.
when you enter,
Sick.
which is pretty cool.
To be distributed in the water supply of this water shipper. The active
Chore murky for law people who understand.
What is that, by the way? I actually don't know what
The
that
Assassin's
means.
Handbook describes certain poisons. Chore murky is poison in the drink.
That's actually something I didn't know. Like I was.
We got a quest. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. 'Cause honestly, I just want lore is something you can read on your own time, chat. I just want to see it. I want to see where we're going.
Alright, so
See it.
we're skipping ahead here. We've jumped to the part of the mission where you're heading towards the water shipper's mansion, which is in the Imperial Basin just outside of Arakeen. The player is being sent there to assassinate and poison this water shipper.
So this is like an instance dungeon outside of the main map that you get to via quests. So I see what they're saying about they can infinitely expand that last map, or they can just keep adding spots to it. This is going to be like a subzone that is big enough to be its own area.
On behalf of the Lara Tuek. And so
I like it.
we come to
Think of it like a
this
raid.
new level on the Overland map.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so your job is to infiltrate,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Guys,
she's
I didn't
talking
know
and
there was going to be
explaining
dungeons like this. This looks incredible.
the mission, but I can't hear it, so I'm just. But
One of the things we wanted to do is make sure all the abilities still work in these. So it is still very sandboxy.
Yeah.
There will always be multiple approaches. You know,
Right.
If you have
How
a
are you
single
gonna do
wire
it?
claw, you can use that to grappling hook over some areas. If not, then you're gonna have to be a little bit more stealthy and avoid the searchlights.
Look how they've combined. It sounds so simple. There's just searchlights, but you spend the entire first part of the game getting used to not seeing this rock ledge as just a rock ledge. You see it as shade. You literally start observing the world in where the sun is and where the sun isn't. Now they've turned it into a combat where the same thing you were training how to survive, now you're using it to infiltrate. That's really cool how you start seeing the game world differently. This isn't a ledge. I see this ledge not as something to hide behind. They mentioned the sugar wire. I see this ledge as something to grapple onto, to launch myself off of. That's how I saw it. Difference in strategy, different ways to approach the world. Really cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where our philosophy is like we give people all these tools, but it's a sandbox. Play the way you want to play. Like here, it's we have to find a guy called Yargan, who's her contact.
He's supposed to be waiting for you by one of the storage sheds.
And so like
get
it's like
seen.
we're quite nice to people. You might get
What are you doing
spotted,
getting
but
seen,
you can
nerd?
escape the lights quickly.
Yeah.
That's the one we
I'm
found
not.
here.
You can read the dialogue here. It's fun.
And again,
I'm going to fast forward through the dialogue because the lore will come later, chat.
Also,
We'll do that at
lore,
launch.
Like everything's connected. Like for those of you who do like lore and who know Dune lore as
I
well,
do.
will find a lot of connections. But also for the ones who don't,
Yeah.
it's super fun to just.
Welcome back
also
on YouTube, my
explaining
friend.
the different ways that you can approach this quest right now. So he's sort of explaining to you, there's like two paths that you can take. Like you don't have to go this way. You don't have to go.
Because remember, you can climb up everything. You can climb over all this. You can Spider-Man through it if you want.
That way, here's how you can get in, there's how you can get in, right? So, as a player, you can approach this, again, in kind of that sandbox approach. It's like, again, I don't want to oversell it. It's not an immersive sim where
Stun.
you have like the Dishonored level of, but you can definitely
spotted.
find alternate paths into the mansion to achieve your mission. And I think that like a shout out to the story content team with Bernard and the boys. And I think that like a shout out to the story content team with
haven't seen the sniper rifle yet. I am a sniper. Patience, ladies and gentlemen. It's how I play. It's what I like doing in these. I like the Mentat way of thinking, where you find the weakness, you exploit it, and you hit exactly at the right time. Y'all, the noise that made. Listen.
To achieve your mission. And I think that, like, a shout out to the story content team with Bernard and the boys, as I call them. They've done a great job with these, setting them up. And here's what Scott was talking about, where you know, nice. Like, I've set the game up in this way. I'm a Benny Gesserit. I'm just going to stun this guy. And then I'll be able to walk past him and he won't even notice me. He won't call up. He won't call the guards because he doesn't see me. Right?
Oh,
and so
yeah.
you can use your abilities, your skills that you've picked up in the game to just pass through these areas.
Cool.
And yeah, it's kind of fun, right? And we just wanted to show that we have
Look at
more
this
than
freaking
just,
laser.
you know, the basic survival game. There's way more going on.
Yowzer.
Yeah. Especially, like, I think it takes about, if you, let's assume you ignore everything else, because there's a lot of...
You can shoot those? Not me learning like 20 things in the gameplay reveal of something I've already played. You can shoot those? I've just been running over them, sprinting forward, just choosing to sacrifice the old body. You can shoot them! I didn't know. Warlake, I'm sorry.
Of choices for you, how you want to approach Dune Awakening and what there's to do.
Oh, man,
but let's
dude.
assume you're only going for the main story and like those
So
cinematics
mad.
and things. So it takes you, I did talk to Niels about it as well.
Cool.
It takes about 30 hours until the story really gets going.
Yeah, if you're
Yep.
playing by yourself, just experiencing all the survival.
I can attest to that, by the way. That's not just them saying that. I played the beta for about 25 to 20 hours, something like that. And I barely left the first two zones just because I was exploring stuff and having a good time. You know, really awesome, really great stuff. So seems you're not an old Oblivion player. Bro, look at me. I'm definitely old.
Elements and going at it alone. Yeah, probably 30 hours to get to part
100%
2.
old.
Yeah, it's deliberately
And proud.
Like, so I'm not defensive about Act 1,
man
but
is
the
floating.
first part of the game is deliberately somewhat light, just to give people that, like, learn the world, acclimatize yourself. Like, follow up on the Fremen. You have the Fremen trials, and it's super interesting. And then we'll start introducing and layering the politics of the universe and more of this stuff, and more of your personal story. Like, what's going on? Why are you the one being asked to do this? What's happening, right?
Little sneak.
Ultimately, it is a survival game first, right?
Yes.
So the player needs to learn how to survive in Arrakis, right? And it's
Sure enough.
a very harsh environment. There's a lot of mechanics to figure out, and then you have to make your way through there and figure out how to get outside of the Haga Basin right before you can experience.
Got a little water.
The politics.
Poison the water supply, dude.
And I really love that we have.
Wow.
I mean, the beginning of the game is kind of story driven, right? You get context to where you, a little bit of context what's actually happening. You have a person that talks to you and helps you at the beginning, and then, as you mentioned, it goes more into learning the actual mechanics and the tutorialization of the game, and we give you time to get a bit acquainted with everything, or not everything, but a lot of the things, like the basic mechanics, and then
So he let me in here, huh?
you again with the story a bit later on, and I really love that too.
I love this guy, but we're cutting now because we're not going to spoil too much of what's going on.
No, exactly.
Come on.
So obviously we don't want
really
to show
sick.
too much. There's more to this.
Oh my God, there's so much more
What
happening.
we're gonna do now, though, is we're actually gonna watch another video that's gonna lead us into our next segment. So enjoy.
All right, what we're going to do. This kind of was a really great summary of what to expect at launch, a little bit of new features. This video, we're going to call this video here, and we're going to say, look, if you want more Dune Awakening guides, this video is going to be all about the mid-game. Make sure you check out our Dune Awakening playlist right here. This was all about the mid-game and those areas. And you want to sub for all the Dune Awakening news and guides, that's right here, baby. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks very, very much.